This is the 6th video for Arduino, where we will learn the next two inputs in the series. As we recall, in video 2E we learned about the light sensor and the flag sensor circuits, and they were grouped together due to the similarity of the circuit construction. Today, I have grouped together the tilt sensor and the buttons because of the similar properties, in terms of working principles as well as the circuit construction. So this is the overview of the video. First, we will introduce the working principle of a tilt sensor and a button, followed by the circuit construction of tilt sensor circuits with various output. Lastly, we will have the circuit construction of the button circuits with different outputs. The tilt sensor is a sensor that detects the angle of tilt within two axes, the X and the Y axis. If we need to detect the tilting in the Z axis, we will need a more complicated sensor known as the accelerometer. Another name for the accelerometer is also known as the motion sensor. The mechanism of a tilt sensor is similar to a switch, where the metal ball inside the sensor acts as the connection for the switch. When the tilt sensor is not tilted, the circuit is closed and the metal ball is in contact with the conductive plate at the bottom. When the tilt sensor is tilted, the ball will dislodge from the plate and the circuit is opened. Another name for button is also known as switch, which is why I have grouped the tilt sensor and the button together, because they are both a type of switch. The function of a switch is to open or close a circuit by toggling a trigger. There are many different types of switches, like the toggle switch, push button switch, with and without spring, and many others. For the toggle switch, it usually has 3 legs, and tilting the rod from left to right will trigger different parts of the circuit. Taking the picture as an example, when the rod is tilted to the right, the metal plate is connecting point 1 and point 2, but point 2 and point 3 is not connected. The opposite is true if the rod is tilted the other way. So an example will be something as shown on the right, where two circuits can concurrently be controlled by one switch. For push buttons, there are two kinds, one with the spring and one without the spring. The one with the spring is called a momentary switch, where the button is held temporarily in place by the spring once triggered. When the switch is pressed the second time, the spring will release the button. For push button without spring, the circuit is only closed when the button is pressed, as there are no springs to hold the button in place. The construction of the subsequent circuit are pretty simple. Just treat the sensor as one part of the circuit, an independent part, while the output part is another independent circuit, and you are good to go. Similar to in video 2E, where we are using light sensor and LED. This will always be true for any kind of sensor output circuit, and that's why we can actually combine different sensors to different outputs. So, for the construction of the tilt sensor and button circuit with different outputs, these are all the components you will need. One Arduino board, one breadboard, one USB cable, one bunch of jumper wires, a series of outputs which consists of one buzzer, one servo motor, one LED together with a 33 ohm resistor, as well as one DC motor. We also need a series of input which consists of your tilt sensor and a push button. The 10K ohm resistor is needed to allow the sensors to work properly. First, we will connect the tilt sensor to the breadboard. Okay. Okay, next, we will connect one leg, okay, of the tilt sensor to 5 volts. And okay, we will have another leg that is connected to pin 3. Similar to the light sensor, the tilt sensor do not have any polarity, and so it doesn't matter which side is which. Okay, to complete the circuit, we will connect one leg of the resistor, okay, to ground, okay, while the other connect to the same leg as that with the green wire. Okay. And last but not least, we'll power up our breadboard, okay, by connecting the 5 volts in the ground. And we are done for the sensor part of the circuit. Okay, do note that no matter which output we use, okay, the circuit will remain the same as long as we are choosing tilt sensor as the sensor. After we have understand our sensor, now let's continue building our circuit with some outputs. Okay, for the output, do refer to the previous videos if you are unclear of the connection. For LED, you can refer to video 2A. For buzzer, you can refer to video 2B. For servo motor, you can refer to video 2C. And for DC motor, you can refer to video 2D. From our last video, we have learned that the serial monitor is an important tool to tell us what is happening to our sensor. However, there is no need for the serial monitor for the tilt sensor or the button. This is because the tilt sensor and the button, they are digital input sensor. This means that the signals from the sensor is only on or off. Okay, another word is high or low state. This is similar to the button. Since the signals only range from on or off, we can actually omit the serial monitor because the serial monitor will only just show on and off as well. So there is no need for the serial monitor. For the tilt sensors and button, there is no need for a mapping function in contrast to what we have seen in the light sensor and flex sensor in video 2E. Okay? The main reason is because the button and the tilt sensors are digital input. So they do not provide a range of signal inputs required in the mapping function. So it's either on or off. And that's the reason why I have grouped these two together, because both are digital inputs. So they behave similarly. Okay, if you notice as well, when we switch the tilt sensor to the button, the circuit seems to work the opposite way. This is because, if we remember, low state is when the tilt sensor is tilted, okay, which is also an open circuit. Okay, for the button, low state is when the button is not pressed as well. So it's when it's open circuit. So when it's open circuit, the state it will be low state. But we want the tilt sensor to trigger the output when it is tilted. But for the button, we want the button to trigger the output signal when the button is pressed. Okay, another word means when it is in closed circuit. That's why the tilt sensor works oppositely to the button. Nothing to worry, we can just change the code from low to high, okay, for either or, for it to work properly.